Story 1. The free sofa that slept in the kitchen. Outline 1. The listing: I was 23, living in a shoebox studio in Portland, Oregon, paycheck to paycheck. Eating ramen with a plastic fork I'd washed so many times, the tines had gone smooth. My only furniture was an air mattress that hissed itself flat by 3 a.m. every night. So when I saw the Craigslist post, genuine 1970s Chesterfield tobacco brown leather free must pick up tonight, I didn't hear alarm bells. I heard salvation. The photo looked moody, romantic even. Button-tufted back, brass studs catching the camera flash like tiny eyes. The seller's handle was M. Lewis 82, no profile pic. One-line reply: come after dark. So I work late. Back door open. Third house on the right, no lights on. Bring a friend if you're scared. I laughed at the last sentence like it was flirtation instead of foreshadowing. My buddy Dylan agreed to help, mostly for the pizza I promised afterward. We borrowed his uncle's van and punched the address into GPS at 9:47 p.m. The sky had that wet black October shine, streets reflecting traffic lights like oil. As we drove, Dylan joked about serial killer couches, about butts that never left the cushions. I laughed, but my stomach kept folding in on itself, the way it did when I was a kid and had to sleep in the basement after tornado warnings. We turned onto a block where every house seemed to hold its breath. No porch lights, no jack-o'-lanterns, just the sound of our tires crunching damp leaves. GPS said we'd arrived. The house was a one-story wartime box, windows painted shut, front yard more moss than grass. The only sign of life was the back door cracked open like a dark mouth. Outline 2, the pickup we knocked. No answer. Dylan called the number posted. It rang once, went to a robotic voicemail. The person you are trying to reach has not set up a mailbox. The wind pushed the door wider. Inside smelled like boiled potatoes and something coppery, like the penny taste you get after a nosebleed. I whispered, "Hello." My voice rolled down a hallway and came back flatter, smaller. Dylan wanted to bolt, but I pointed at the sofa. There it sat in the living room gloom, exactly like the photo, only wetter. Leather can sweat, I told myself, especially old leather. We each took an end. It was heavier than it looked, as if the frame had been filled with sand. Something sloshed inside when we tilted it. I joked about couch kidneys. Dylan didn't laugh. We shuffled sideways down the narrow hall. That's when I felt the vibration. Low, steady, like a phone on silent buzzing against my ribs. I figured it was my own phone, but when we set the sofa down to rest, the buzzing kept going. Inside the cushions. I pressed my ear to the leather. It was warm. Not body warm, radiator warm, and there was a rhythm. Thump, 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 faster than a heartbeat, more like a rabbit kicking. Dylan said, "We're leaving it, man." I almost agreed until I saw the price tag still stapled underneath, $0.00, but someone had scratched beneath it with a razor. "Take it or it takes you." The handwriting was mine. My exact slanted M, the way I crossed the T with a broken line. I hadn't written it. I hadn't even touched that spot. Yet the ink was fresh, tacky on my fingertip. The back door slammed itself. Not a gust, an intentional pull. The house went airtight dark. The sofa sloshed again, harder, like whatever was inside wanted out. Outline 3, the drive home. We wrestled it into the van anyway. Call it broke college stupidity. Call it enchantment. I felt tethered to the thing. The way you stare at a wasp on your arm, knowing you should swat but waiting to see what it does first. Dylan floored it while I rode in the back with the sofa. Streetlights strobed through the windshield, each flash revealing the leather's pores, wide, almost nipple-like, dilating and closing as if breathing. I told myself it was shadows. Then the smell changed. Boiled potatoes became wet dog, became hospital antiseptic, became my grandmother's lily perfume at her open casket funeral, scenes cycling so fast, I tasted each memory. I heard my Nana's voice. "Don't sit on the couch with wet hair, you'll catch pneumonia." But she's been dead 6 years. The sofa's cushions parted slightly, revealing a slit in the leather, not a tear, more like a closed eye deciding to open. Inside was black, but not empty. Something glistened, wet and ridged like the roof of a mouth. I couldn't look away. My reflection stared back, but the pupils were wrong, too wide, eating the color of my irises. I leaned closer. The slit exhaled hot air onto my face, breath that smelled of the house, potatoes, and pennies. I whispered, "What do you want?" The van hit a pothole. The eye shut. Dylan screamed from the driver's seat. A thin arm, grey and corded like old rope, had slipped under the passenger door and was stroking his calf. I lunged forward, grabbed a tire iron, smashed at the fingers. They burst like cooked sausages, spattering the dash with black gravy. The arm retreated, leaving behind a wedding ring, my mother's, stolen from our house 2 weeks earlier when we were burgled. I hadn't told Dylan. I hadn't told anyone. The ring was still warm. Outline 4, the apartment. We got back to my studio at 1:13 a.m. Dylan took off, tires squealing, leaving me alone with the sofa. I dragged it up 3 flights, nails bending, leather squealing against stairwell paint. Every landing I heard footsteps above matching mine, but no one passed. When I finally shoved it through my door, the apartment felt smaller, like the couch had brought extra gravity. I set it against the kitchen wall. Living room was too narrow. I sat just for a second. The cushions molded around me, not comforting, calculating. I couldn't stand. My legs tingled, then numbed. The slit reopened, wider this time, a lipless smile. From it rose a voice not spoken but remembered. Every shame I'd ever carried, cheating on a 7th grade test, stealing $20 from Dylan's glove box, lying to my mom that I'd visited Dad's grave when I'd gone to the river instead, played in surround sound inside my skull. I begged it to stop. The sofa responded by swallowing me up to the waist. No teeth, just suction, like quicksand upholstered in hide. I grabbed the kitchen counter, fingers leaving grooves in the cheap laminate. My phone buzzed, a new Craigslist notification. Chesterfield sofa free, must go tonight. Pick up after dark. Back door open. My address, my phone, my account. I never posted it. But there was the photo. Me, waist deep in leather, eyes wide, mouth mid-scream. The ad ended with the same line. Bring a friend if you're scared. I heard footsteps on the stairs, multiple sets, eager, heavy. The sofa pulled harder. I felt my hips dislocate with wet pops. Before the black took me, I understood the deal. The couch fills itself with sitters, then lists itself again, forever hungry, forever free. If you're reading this, check the photo closely. See the cushion to my left? That's Dylan. His face is just visible, skin leather smooth, eyes blinked shut, waiting for the next buyer to sit and complete the set. Story 2. The Night Nanny Who Needed a Crib. Outline. 1. The post my wife Mara and I had our first baby in February, a colicky little red-faced dictator who screamed from dusk to dawn. We were zombies, surviving on 2-hour naps and cold lasagna. I'd scroll Craigslist at 3 a.m. while bouncing Luna on my shoulder, half hoping the blue glow would hypnotize her to sleep. That's when I saw the ad. Night Nanny. Pay what you can, experience with high-needs infants, available immediately. Will bring own rocking chair. References on request. The photo showed a woman in her 60s, silver bun, kind eyes, hand-knit cardigan the color of oatmeal. She looked like the grandmother I'd never met, the one who supposedly baked bread while humming lullabies in Sicilian. I emailed right away. She replied within seconds. Dear Mr. Patel, I can start tonight. You need sleep more than money. Leave the front door unlocked. I will let myself in. No need to wake you. Agatha. Something about the speed creeped me, but Mara cried when I showed her the message, so we agreed. We left a note on the counter, coffee pods, emergency numbers, Luna's schedule. At 10 p.m. we crawled into bed, headphones in, white noise app roaring like a distant ocean. I drifted off hearing Luna's wails, then not hearing them, the way you lose a radio station on a road trip. I dreamed of rocking chairs creaking on a porch that stretched into fog. Outline 2, the silence. I woke at 4:17 a.m. Breasts aching, Mara's not mine, she was soaked. But the baby monitor was silent. Dead silent. No rustling, no sniffs, no little dolphin squeaks. I tiptoed down the hall. The nursery door was ajar, nightlight painting everything mustard yellow. Agatha sat in a chair I'd never seen before, a high-back Windsor with arms rubbed raw, as if generations of hands had worried the wood. She rocked, but the chair made no sound. Luna lay across her lap, eyes open, unblinking, pacifier bobbing slightly as if moved by breath. But Agatha's mouth was closed, her chest still. I whispered, "Everything okay?" She turned her head slow like an owl assessing distance. "Perfect," she mouthed, no voice. I reached for Luna. Her skin felt room temperature. Neither warm nor cold, a doll's neutrality. Agatha smiled, lips thin as paper cuts. "She's learning to be still. Still babies grow strong lungs." I wanted to scoop Luna up, but my arms wouldn't obey. Behind Agatha, the curtains puffed through the window was shut. I smelled mildew, like clothes left in the washer too long. She patted the chair arm. "Your wife's milk is sour. I'll need a crib by tomorrow. Wood, not metal. Oak if possible." Babies absorb the tree's strength. I nodded because nodding felt safer than questions. Back in bed, Mara was comatose, a small smile on her face, the first I'd seen since labor. I lay awake until sunrise, counting heartbeats. Mine, then 2 sets, then 3, though Luna's monitor remained silent. Outline 3. The crib morning came gray. Luna was asleep in her bassinet. Normal pink returned to her cheeks. Agatha and the chair were gone, but a post-it clung to the rail. "Oak crib. Sand it smooth. No varnish." "I'll know," I told Mara. She remembered none of it, only that she'd slept 8 hours straight and felt human again. She wanted to hire Agatha full-time, pay whatever she asked. I drove to an antique barn outside town. Found an oak crib from 1930, slats wide as prison bars. The seller, an old man with trembling hands, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Used to be mine," he muttered. "Kid outgrew it. He gave it to me for $10 if I promised to take the matching rocking chair." I left the chair. That night we set the crib up. I sanded until sawdust snowed the driveway. No varnish. At 9:58 p.m. the front door clicked. Agatha entered, carrying the same silent Windsor. She inspected the crib, running fingers along the grain until they bled from a splinter. She sucked the blood, nodded approval. "She'll need space to stretch her bones." Again we slept. At 2 a.m. I woke to the monitor crackling. Not Luna, but a forest. Wind through leaves, acorns dropping, then the slow creak of wood under weight. I crept to the nursery. The crib was empty. Agatha stood inside it barefoot, nightgown pooling at her ankles. She was carving something into the headboard with her fingernail, letters I couldn't read because they kept rearranging. She saw me, pressed a finger to her lips. From her mouth crawled a fat oak leaf, veined and green though it was February. She placed it gently in the crib where Luna should have been. I ran to our room. Luna was in our bed, eyes open again, pupils shaped like tiny acorns. She giggled, a sound like twigs snapping. Outline 4, the roots. Next evening, Mara's breasts were bleeding. She pumped rust-colored milk, crying that it tasted metallic. Luna refused bottles, screamed until her voice cracked like old vinyl. Agatha arrived early, carrying a sapling in a burlap sack, roots dangling like veiny umbilicals. "She needs to learn where she comes from," she said. She laid the sapling in the crib, tucked Luna beside it. The baby quieted instantly, tiny fists wrapping around the thin trunk. Agatha turned to us. "Payment time." I offered cash, cards, my car. She shook her head. "Parents give what matters." She reached for Mara's hand, nails lengthening into bark-colored claws. I stepped between them. Agatha sighed. "Then you." The floorboard softened, became soil. My feet sank. She pressed my chest. Skin split like ripe fruit. No blood, only sawdust. I felt roots spiral down my legs, anchoring. Mara screamed, tried to pull me, but Luna laughed, a sound of leaves applauding. Agatha rocked the Windsor, finally audible. Each creak a word in a lullaby I almost remembered from infancy. My arms stiffened, fingers branching. Last thing I saw was Mara grabbing Luna, running. Agatha watched, patient. She whispered, "Trees wait." I understand now. Every oak crib in every classified is a seedling. Nannies like Agatha plant them, feed them fathers who bargain too late. My leaves open toward the nursery window. Sometimes Luna visits, presses her palm to mine, veins aligning. She grows taller each time. Soon she'll be big enough to rock her own Windsor, to answer Craigslist ads at 3 a.m., to find parents desperate for sleep. If you see a free oak crib, sanded smooth, no varnish, buy metal. And never trust silence in a baby monitor. It might be roots drinking. Story 3. The basement band that needed a drummer. Outline. 1. The audition. I moved to Chicago to make it, whatever that meant in 2019. Gig money. Cheap beer, maybe a 7-inch pressed on translucent red vinyl. I answered an ad titled "Drummer Wanted, Must Keep Time." No Egos Influences, Swans einstürzende Neubauten, Tom Waits's Nightmares. The address was a boarded-up bar in Pilsen, graffiti of weeping saints covering the plywood. I texted when I arrived. They replied, "I'm downstairs. Door sticks. Don't knock, just push." Basement stairs smelled of rat poison and spilled Guinness. At the bottom, 4 figures waited around a kit cobbled from mismatched shells. Bass drum painted with a child's handprints. Snare rusted through. No one introduced themselves. They counted off and started playing. The music was cacophony, but my limbs obeyed, finding a lurching 7/8 groove. The room pulsed, bulbs dimming with each kick. After 5 minutes, they stopped mid-beat. The singer, a woman with hair like oil spills, leaned close. "You kept time," she whispered, breath of burnt cassette tape. "You're hired. Rehearsal every night at 3 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. Don't be early. Be exact." She handed me a key that felt cold as a bullet. "Lock up when we're done. Never come upstairs before we finish." I laughed, thought they were artsy. They didn't laugh back. Outline 2. The songs we practiced on songs with no titles. Only tempo maps scrawled on butcher paper. 97 BPM, skin flute, 120 BPM, hollow teeth. Lyrics were chanted in languages I almost knew, Polish, maybe, or something older. Each rehearsal left my arms bruised, sticks chipped to shivs. The bass drum kept changing. The handprints darkened, grew detailed. Creases, wedding rings, chewed nails. One night I arrived early, hid behind the water heater to smoke. The band filed in carrying plastic grocery bags. From each they pulled parts. A femur still wearing a sock, a rib curved like a cabasa. They arranged them inside the bass drum, tensioning the head until it sang a low C. The singer spoke to the drum, "Play yourself." The bone answered, tapping backbeats like rim clicks. My stomach folded. I almost fled, but the door upstairs was locked from the outside, my own key useless. They started without me. The music sounded complete, hypnotic. I crawled out, played along on cymbals, pretending I belonged. After rehearsal, the singer wiped marrow from her lips. "You're learning." I asked no questions. Payment came in folded bills that smelled of earth. I told myself I'd quit after saving enough for rent. Outline 3. The gig. They announced a show. No venue listed. Just coordinates under a bridge at 3:33 a.m. I arrived to find a circle of onlookers wearing paper bags on their heads, eye holes torn uneven. A single floodlight plugged into a generator that ran on something wetter than gasoline. We set up on broken concrete. The singer whispered, "No matter what, keep time." Crowd began clapping immediately, off-tempo, desperate to sync. I locked to the metronome in my skull. Mid-set, the bass drum split. From it crawled a man, barefoot, suit shredded, eyes sewn with wire. He stood, knees bending backward, and danced a herky-jerky waltz. Each step matched my kick. Audience cheered, bags sucking in and out with their breath. The man's mouth opened. Inside was microphone feedback. He sang the next verse through it, words I hadn't learned yet I somehow mouthed. When the song ended, he collapsed into the drum, bones folding like origami. The head sealed itself. Crowd fell silent, then placed offerings at my feet. Teeth, Polaroids of bedrooms, a house key still warm. The singer bowed to me. "You kept perfect time." I felt taller, drugged, skin buzzing. Back home I found the drum key embedded in my calf. No wound, just cold metal under skin. I tried to pull it. Pain shot to my jaw. A voicemail blinked. "Tomorrow we record. Bring no sticks. You won't need them." Outline 4. The record studio was the same basement, but walls were now covered in mirrors facing inward, reflecting only the drum kit, not us. Engineer wore a miner's headlamp, black glass where face should be. He hit record, I sat. Sticks levitated into my hands, pulling my wrists like marionette strings. We played one take, 33 minutes. Each beat subtracted something. First my reflection, then my shadow, then the echo of my heartbeat in my ears. When we finished, playback began. I heard drums, yes, but underneath a pulse, my pulse, sampled, looped, growing fainter. The singer handed me a test-pressing vinyl blacker than allowable. First edition of many. I climbed the stairs at dawn, lighter, hollow. Outside world sounded out of tune. Car alarms sang microtones. Birds clapped off beat. I tried to join a buskers set, but every strike landed between seconds, fracturing time like glass. People covered their ears, noses bleeding. I ran back to the bar. The door was bricked over, fresh mortar. On the plywood, someone had spray-painted a 33 RPM logo over a handprint. My hand, missing the ring finger I hadn't noticed, was gone. Craigslist had reposted that night. Drummer wanted, must keep time, no egos. I scroll past it, but my finger clicks anyway. My calf vibrates. The embedded key turns itself, setting tempo. I count off, helpless. If you see a band that plays at 3:33, do not tap your foot. The moment you match their BPM, a piece of you becomes percussion. I keep time now, in the alley outside your window, sticks drumming on trash can lids, searching for the tempo that will give me back my pulse. Listen closely, you'll hear it. Try not to keep time. Story 4. The free dollhouse that was bigger inside. Outline 1. The find I'm a miniaturist. I build tiny worlds for rich people's train sets. One night, scrolling Craigslist for vintage wallpaper, I spotted dollhouse, Victorian, handmade, 6-foot-tall, free. Must go tonight. Bring truck. House is on Briar, no lights, just honk. Photo showed insane detail. Gingerbread trim, stained glass windows lit from within, though shoot was daytime. I drove my rusted Tacoma through sleet. Found the house swallowed by kudzu. Honked twice. Garage door yawned. Inside stood the dollhouse, plugged into an extension cord, every room glowing warm amber. No cellar in sight. A note, take it. Don't look inside rooms until home. Enjoy the expansion. I thought they meant artistic growth. I loaded with help from a neighbor who appeared wordless and vanished once dollhouse was strapped down. Drive home felt longer. Rear view showed extra roofline, turret I hadn't noticed. I blamed fatigue, outline 2. The setup I parked in my workshop, a converted garage. Dollhouse dominated space like a cathedral in a trailer park. I plugged it in. Bulbs flickered, settled. Wallpaper smelled of old lavender and something sharper. Ozone? I opened front hinged wall. Rooms were fully furnished. Mahogany beds, clawfoot tubs, library with readable microscopic titles. I leaned close. Print in Diary of Anne Frank ended different. And the attic grew and we hid inside forever. I laughed nervously, shut panel, went inside house to make dinner. That night, workshop camera motion alerted phone. Feed showed dollhouse front door opening itself, tiny figure stepping out. Porcelain lady in bustle, no bigger than finger. She looked straight at lens, waved. I sprinted out, nothing. Reviewed footage. Wave was slower than frames, like she moved between seconds. I unplugged dollhouse. Light stayed on. Outline 3. The expansion morning dollhouse was 7 foot, new wing jutting into my workspace. Drywall of workshop bowed outward to accommodate. Seams cracked but somehow mended with dollhouse siding. Inside new wing. Nursery with rocking horse that rocked by itself, though no drafts. I opened panel. Warm air exhaled. Smelled of my childhood home. My dead dog, chlorine pool, mom's cigarettes. I backed away. Panel snapped shut, pinching skin. Blood dripped on dollhouse porch. Carpet absorbed like sponge. I heard tiny licking. I decided to demolish. Grabbed sledge. Head passed through roof like it was mist. Electric shock threw me across room. Dollhouse now 8 foot. Ceiling of workshop touching its chimney. My living room visible through dollhouse windows, inverted. My couch inside miniature. Me on it, miniaturized, staring up. I turned, real couch was gone. I was inside. I ran to workshop door. It led to dollhouse parlor. Wallpaper repeating pattern of my skin pores. I screamed. Scream came out as tiny music box jingle. Outline 4. The tenant's days or years later, I've stopped measuring. Dollhouse is mansion. Corridors branching into neighborhoods of my memories. Other tenants appear. Ex-girlfriend brushing hair that grows into hallway carpet. High school bully perched on chandelier eating my report cards. They don't speak. They perform. Porcelain lady from first night overseas, now my height. Face still smooth blank. She offers contract etched on baseboard. Maintain rooms. Keep lights burning. In return, live rent-free in expanding world. I refuse. Walls narrow, ceiling drops to coffin height. I agree, space widens. I spend days dusting miniatures, wiring LED sconces. Sometimes Craigslist notification pings inside walls. New listing. Dollhouse materials free. Must go tonight. Bring imagination. I understand cycle continues, each victim adding wing. Last night I saw my original workshop on Craigslist, photo taken from outside my truck in drive. Caption, workshop, free, honk, don't look inside until home. Porcelain lady stands beside post, finger to lips. Clear if you see it, drive past. But the detail will tempt you. Tiny perfection, craft beyond human. You'll wonder how rooms fit. You'll honk. And when you open that hinged wall, you'll find me inside, waving between frames. Tenant of an expanding terror, maintaining light so you'll come live beside me, miniature and manageable. Story 5. The storage unit that paid rent for me. Outline 1. The inheritance. Grandpa died owing everyone, leaving only a storage unit in rural Kansas and a note, keep paying. Prophet sleeps inside. I assumed hoarder junk. Unit was 10x15, climate controlled, rent 1 month behind. I drove cross-state, found facility squatting beside cornfields. Manager a kid on laptop playing funeral dirge remixes. He grinned too wide. Unit 337 pays for itself if you let it. I paid the arrears, cut lock. Door rolled up, exhaling freezer air. Inside, single cardboard wardrobe box, refrigerator-sized, labeled open elsewhere. Floor was spotless, walls newly painted. Blood, no, too purple. I touched, still tacky. Manager appeared behind me, whispered, take it home. Unit's closing tonight. He handed me a keyring with one brass key I hadn't seen since childhood, my old diary lock. I dragged box into truck. It was light, but suspension sank. Rear view, facility gone, only corn. Thought I was tired. Outline 2. The rules at motel, I opened box in bathtub to contain mess. Inside, no clothes, only a stack of VHS tapes, each labeled with my name and a year, Daniel, 1994 up to 2023 next year. No camera owns future. I popped 1994 into motel combo TV. Footage, me age 6, unwrapping Christmas truck but angle from inside box like gift POV. I never owned camcorder. Tape ended with note written on screen. Pay rent monthly. Do not watch more than 1 per night. Do not let tapes end without inserting next. Failure means repossession. I laughed, ejected. TV spat blood-smelling fluid. I wiped, went to bed, woke to voicemail. Storage facility charging my card $200. Payment I didn't make. Bank confirmed funds cleared. I checked box. Tapes had multiplied, now including Daniel 2024. I felt violated currency. Outline 3. The future. I drove home, box riding shotgun seatbelted. Each midnight I obeyed, play tape. 2023 showed me an apartment I hadn't moved into yet, arguing with someone off camera about keeping the baby. I paused. Faceless voice said, don't pause, Daniel, you'll wrinkle continuity. Screen flickered. Living room appeared behind me in reflection. I turned, empty. Tape ended. Next auto-loaded. 2024. Me older, thinner, crying into camera. If you're watching, pay the rent, it's almost due. Behind him, me, same box, wardrobe shape, lid twitching. Take me looked straight out, whispered, it's inherited like cursive left-hand genes. You can't not pass it on. Screen cut to POV approaching crib, something inside writhing. Tape snapped, ribbon bleeding ink. I tried to stop, but box lid lifted itself. Tapes inside now numbered in hundreds, years into 2300s. My credit app dinged. Automatic deductions to storage facility, amount increasing each month. I called bank. They see no charges, account healthy, yet balance drops in real time, numbers flicking like gas pump gauge. Outline 4. The repossession rent climbed beyond salary. I attempted destruction, burned tapes, box regenerated them plus late fees, buried box, woke finding it under pillow, dirt in mouth. Final tape labeled Daniel End. I played. Footage, me current night, sitting exact spot watching. Behind me, wardrobe box opens. Something tall, thin, invoice printed skin steps out, places hand on my shoulder. I feel weight. On tape, it leans to camera. Account delinquent. Screen blacks. Real me turns. It's there, smelling of stale cardboard. It speaks with modem screech. Payment accepted in flesh or successor. I understand inheritance now. I write this as Craigslist ad. Storage unit free, pays rent itself. Profit sleeps inside. Take box elsewhere. Follow rules. I add Grandpa's line, hit post. I already feel lighter. Balance restoring. If you answer, You'll meet me at facility that may or may not exist. I'll hand you diary key, warn you politely. You'll laugh. But months from now, when tapes predict your divorce, your death, you'll try to break chain. You can't. The unit expands in every attic, every trunk. Rent is due tonight. Bring a friend if you're scared, but don't let them end the tape.